Hello guys, welcome back to my channel Empathetic Nurse. So today topic of this video is important top NCLEX question with explanation. In this video I will tell you each and every question with answers in all aspects. And one thing with you guys, I will discuss important top NCLEX question in every 15 days. So if you like my effort and want to know more about nursing stuff, so do like, share and subscribe my channel. So hold your pen and paper and let's get started. First, a patient with tuberculosis is being started on anti-tuberculosis therapy with isoniazid. Before giving the patient the first dose, the nurse should ensure that which baseline study has been completed. Options are electrolyte levels, coagulation time, liver enzyme level, serum creatinine level. So think, then answer. So answer is liver enzyme level. Reason? First, you should know that isoniazid therapy can cause an elevation of hepatic enzyme levels and hepatitis. Therefore, liver enzyme level are monitored when therapy is initiated and during the first 3 months of therapy. They may be monitored longer in the patient who is older than 40 or abuses alcohol. So, the laboratory tests in option 1st, 2nd and 4th are not necessary. Now, question 2nd. While performing a cardiac assessment on a patient with an incompetent heart valve, the nurse auscultates a murmur sound, which describes the sounds of a heart murmur. Options are lubbed up sound, scratchy, lethargy, hard noise, gentle, blowing and squishing noise, abrupt, high-pitched, snapping sound. So think, then answer. Correct answer is gentle, blowing and squishing noise. Reason: a heart murmur is an abnormal heart sound and is described as a gentle, blowing and squishing sound. Lubbed up sounds are normal and represent the S1 first heart sound and S2 second heart sound respectively. A pericardial friction rub is described as a scratchy, lethargy heart sound. A click is described as an abrupt, high-pitched, snapping sound. Question 3rd. The nurse is assessing a patient in the 4th stage of labor and notes that the fundus is firm but that bleeding is excessive. Which should be the initial nursing action? Options are record the findings, massage the fundus, notify the healthcare provider or place the patient in Trendelenburg position. So correct answer is notify the healthcare provider. Reason: if bleeding is excessive, the cause may be laceration of the cervix or birth canal. Massaging the fundus, if it is firm, would not assist in controlling the bleeding. Trendelenburg position should be avoided because it may interfere with cardiac and respiratory function. Although the nurse would record the findings, but the initial nursing action would be to notify the healthcare provider. Question 4th. A healthcare provider prescribes 1 unit of packed red blood cells to infuse over 4 hours. The unit of blood contains 250 ml. The drop factor is 10 drops per ml. The nurse prepares to set the flow rate at how many drops per minute? Fill in the blank, record your answer to the nearest whole number. So calculate the answer. So correct answer is 10. So there is a formula to calculate the drops per minute, that is total volume into drop factor divided by time in minutes. So here total volume is 250 ml into drop factor is given 10 divided by 60 into 4. So you will get the answer 10.4 drops per minute. Question 5th. The nurse listening to the morning report learns that an assigned patient receives a unit of granulocytes the previous evening. The nurse makes a note to assess the results of which daily serum laboratory studies to assess the effectiveness of the transfusion. Options are hematocrit level, erythrocyte count, hemoglobin level, white blood cell. So answer is white blood cell count. Reason: the patient who has neutropenia may receive a transfusion of granulocytes or WBC. These patients often have severe infection and are unresponsive to antibiotic therapy. The nurse notes the result of follow-ups, WBC count and differential to evaluate the effectiveness of the therapy. The nurse also continues to monitor the client for sign and symptom of infection. Erythrocyte count, hemoglobin and hematocrit levels are determined after transfusion of packed red blood cell. Question 6. The nurse is monitoring an infant with congenital heart disease closely for signs of heart failure. The nurse should assess the infant for which early sign of heart failure. Options are pallor, cough, tachycardia, shallow and slow breathing. So correct answer is tachycardia. Reason: first you should know that heart failure is the inability of the heart to pump a sufficient amount of blood to meet the oxygen and metabolic needs of the body. The early signs of heart failure include tachycardia, tachypnea, profuse scalp sweating, fatigue, irritability, sudden weight gain and respiratory distress. A cough may occur in heart failure as a result of mucosal swelling and irritation, but it is not an early sign. Pallor may be noted in an infant with heart failure, but it is not an early sign. Question 7. The mother of a 3-year-old arrives at a clinic and tells the nurse that the patient has a scratching the skin continuously and has developed a rash. The nurse assesses the child and suspects the presence of scabies. The nurse bases this suspicion and which finding noted an assessment of the child's skin. First, fine grayish red lines. Second, purple colored lesions. Third, thick honey colored crust. Fourth, cluster of fluid filled vesicles. So correct answer is fine grayish red lines. You should know that scabies is a parasitic skin disorder caused by an infestation of itch mite. So scabies appear as burrows or fine grayish red thread-like lines. It may be difficult to see if they are obscured by excoriation and inflammation. Purple colored lesions may indicate various disorders including systemic condition. Thick honey colored crusts are characterized of impetigo or secondary infection in eczema. Cluster of fluid-filled vesicles are seen in herpes virus infection. Question 8. The nurse is monitoring a child for bleeding after surgery for removal of a brain tumor. The nurse checks the head dressing for the presence of blood and notes a colorless drainage on the back of the dressing. Which intervention should the nurse perform immediately? Options are: first, reinforce the dressing. Second, notify the healthcare provider. Third, document the findings and continue to monitor. Fourth, circle the area of drainage and continue to monitor. Correct answer is notify the healthcare provider. Reason: colorless drainage on the dressing in a child after craniotomy indicates the presence of cerebrospinal fluid and should be reported to the healthcare provider immediately. Option first, third and fourth are not the immediate nursing intervention because they do not address the need for immediate intervention to prevent complication. Question 9. The nurse is caring for a newborn with a suspected diagnosis of imperforate anus. The nurse monitors the infant knowing that which is a clinical manifestation with this disorder. Options are: bile stained fecal emesis. Second, passage of current jelly-like stools. Third, failure to pass meconium in first 24 hours after birth. Fourth, sausage-shaped mass palpated in upper right quadrant. So correct answer is failure to pass meconium in first 24 hours after birth. Reason: imperforate anus in the incomplete development or absence of the anus in its normal position in the perineum. During the newborn assessment, this defect should be identified easily or sight. A rectal thermometer or tube may be necessary, however, to determine patency if meconium not passed in the first 24 hours after birth. Other assessment findings include absence or stenosis of the anal rectal canal, presence of an anal membrane, or an external fistula to the perineum. Last question. The nurse is providing discharge instruction to a patient who has Cushing syndrome. Which client statement indicates that instructions should related to dietary management are understood? Options are: I will need to limit the amount of protein in my diet. Second, I should eat foods that have lots of potassium in them. Third, I am fortunate that I can eat all the salty foods I enjoy. Fourth, I am fortunate that I don't need to follow a special diet. So correct answer is second, that is, I should not eat food that have lots of potassium in them. Reason: a diet low in carbohydrate and sodium but ample in protein and potassium is encouraged for a patient with Cushing syndrome. Such a diet promotes weight loss, reduction of edema and hypertension, control of hypokalemia and rebuilding of wasted tissue. So that's all questions for today. Stay tuned with my channel and let me know in comment section what topic you want to discuss. Thanks for watching.